recording.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're here with Local 1395, the Escambia County Area Transit Union representation, to begin some additional union negotiations. And before we get started, we'll go around the room, and I'll let Crystal start and go this way.
Crystal Dodora, HR Director for the county. Nikki Powell, Labor Relations Manager.
Wes Marino, Interim County Administrator.
Kristen Hewell, Deputy County Attorney.
Wesley Hall, Assistant County Administrator.
Rodriguez Kimbrough, Mass Transit Director.
Curtis Howard, ATU International Vice President.
Mike Lowry, ATU 1395, President Business Agent.
Mr. DeWitt, Shop to 1395.
Elaine Wiggins, Financial Secretary / ECAT.
Okay.
You got a sign-in sheet?
We got the sign sheet coming, all right?
Yeah.
Anybody else going to join us through Microsoft Teams?
I think none more. Join the
He
team.
might be a little bit late.
A little bit late. Okay. Well, Mike, we're here, ready to get going. And I thought today we let you guys lead off, take the lead. What are you gonna do?
Curtis, how do you start? Probably be a little bit more comfortable letting you guys lead, to be honest with you.
Do you have copies of what you emailed us? Of what you emailed us as a counter?
Talking about the articles, we're talking about opening, the reopening, talking about that?
Yeah. Do you have enough copies of those? Or have you all
Present whatever they got to present. Thank you.
I don't know, Mike, I think after the vote, I think it's the feedback I got, y'all had 4 or 5 articles, or however many articles I wanted to address. Kind of like to get started on some of those.
I looked to my chief negotiator to make sure.
Wes, I don't mind, I don't mind being cooperative, but, the county basically sent over, from what I've had, wanting to open up everything, more, I'm gonna use more of the same. Not in harmony of trying to reach a contract, more of taking away and because you didn't do something. It feels kinda like, more of the same, more of what we're digressing instead of progressing, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. We've done some other things we've done really well. When I look back at what you guys have presented, it's just more the same. And, that's the reason why the contract got turned down. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't see a clear path to something positive. I see, you guys wanting to push certain things to impasse instead of trying to, and this happened from the very beginning, before you came. It's the same thing, we agree to something, you take it off the table instead of leaving it agreed to and then try to move on to things that you're really struggling with together. You try to find a common ground. It's not where we're at. Once again, you change up the game and go back to this, and it's more of the old regime is what I'm seeing than the things that we've done in the past. With really all the things that we've done since you've been here.
Sure.
That's just my point. We I don't know. Did you make copies for everybody?
I did.
We'll hand you ours and we'll go over. Thank you, sir. And we'll go over them. Once again, I think we're reasonable. There are some things naturally that we struggle with amongst the two of us. And those are the things that I think we should be trying to get to, not things we already agreed on. I'll do whatever it takes to try to get a fair and decent contract.
Now, if you don't mind, can I respond?
Yeah.
Okay. So, when we came in with you guys, when I came in with you guys the first time, right off the bat, I brought up wages. Because I felt like it was important for the employees. It's been a while since they've had a wage increase or wage adjustment. I felt that was an important thing to tackle first and foremost. The other reason was I wanted to establish some goodwill. And I think we did that. And as we began to move forward, I think we were moving forward in a good effort to try to create a good work product, good working document. I think we did that. I think there were some places where we struggled along the way. And I think we were open-minded. I know you guys were open-minded in some areas as well. And I think at the end of the day, we were able to tentatively agree a contract. Now, it was a long process, a lot of hard work, both sides of the table. But at the end of the day, it wasn't ratified. I don't know why it wasn't ratified. But when we left out of this room, I thought we were all in agreement. So for me, it's a little difficult to see how the union leadership, somebody's either not in lockstep with the membership, they're not communicating with the membership. I don't know. At this point, it doesn't matter. So once that happens, then as far as I'm concerned, we're going to go back and talk about a bunch of things.
So let me,
So I don't feel like my goodwill was very much appreciated.
well, in this room it was, on this side of the table it was, but here's what I was honest with you about. Here's what I think Mike was honest with you about. There was a lot of financial takeaways from people that had been there for years. We were very upfront with you about some of the time being taken away. We tried to get you to grandfather certain things. And we were across this table, we were very candid with you about those things. So the memberships, those were the things that we've continuously heard that they didn't think was fair. That they thought that they worked for the county, even though the county outsourced it, to take away those type of benefits, which other transit agencies have, not county workers, other transit agencies have, and in the state of Florida. So we told them our position and recommended it. That's what, and legally, that's what we had to do legally.
Sure, absolutely.
So we didn't do that, and I don't think the membership nor the leadership not appreciated your willingness to come in and do what you did for both bargaining units. ECAT is a little different than the county workers were, in the respects that we drive buses. Our day-to-day is not the same. We try to express that. And, you know, why a lot of people don't say something sometimes, people always speak at us differently than they speak at y'all. One, you're the employer, and two, they have an expectation that we get more and not allow certain things. And they say unkind words to us, just to be very frank. So it getting turned down, in my opinion, was workers feeling like, why do we have to give up what we earned? And it wasn't everything. It wasn't even close to everything. It was strictly about benefits. And we've talked about benefits in this room time and time again. Some of it seemed to be okay and fair, and then some of it just seemed to be you were ripping a hole in it. And that's the honest to God truth.
I wasn't trying to rip a hole in anything.
I didn't mean it. If I said it like that, I didn't mean it like that. But the county wanted.
The goal is to bring them into the county system as county employees who do transport, just like every other county employee. Was not trying to take anything, purposely take anything away that they earned, but there are things such as annual leave and sick leave and vacations and stuff like that, holidays. I can only propose what the board approves in those certain situations. And we all work under the same leave policies, the same holiday policies, you know, we tried to work with the league, we tried to grandfather some things in, give them a 3-year window for some of those most senior employees to, you know, have an even landing plane to do that. I mean, I think we were pretty creative in some of our things, as were y'all, absolutely, as were y'all. So when I left, I felt like we had done a lot of good work together. And
I think so,
thought
too.
we had put together a good product. And there's some things that, while I know the employees may not like it, but at the end of the day, it's their county policy and county procedures.
So, I hear you. I think that, 75 years and at least 40, the longest person I know that worked about 40 years, 48. Lived under a bunch of rules and earned his time. He doesn't get a pension. He doesn't get any of these things. And I would only say, I'm not saying that the county don't offer good benefits, first and foremost. But what I will say is transit workers don't go home at 5 o'clock. No, just let me hear me out. County workers don't get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to provide the service. Not everybody, you know what I'm saying, the majority of the people. So, you know, there is a difference. And there's nothing wrong with us having an expectation that the county puts some policies in it because of the way we do work and the benefits that we earned. Now, I'm not saying that we was closed-minded to a 2-tier system, even though I don't like that. But definitely grandfathering some of these folks that have worked and will walk away with hardly no pension. And we struggled here with pension or retirement. Let me correct myself, retirement. Some of these things, these folks are passionate about.
Absolutely. I don't blame them.
And so, to see it from their perspective, because Wes, I don't work here, let's be honest, right? I'm just an advocate for them. And when I hear their stories, when I hear how they put what we present to them, they see it from a different world.
Sure.
They don't see it from a county's perspective. They see it from, for 40-some years, 30-some years, I've made this county look good, and I was just as much as that county, even though they contracted it out. Why do they want to take away what I've worked hard for?
Well, it wasn't an exercise to try and take something away. It really wasn't. It was an exercise of trying to bring a department truly into the county and county processes, county policies, county procedures. That's really all it was.
And to be honest with you, brutally honest, your leadership has provided trust in a relationship that was tore up. And it's just because we're here now and my membership wrote it down doesn't mean that we don't trust you anymore or any less. And we hope that it works both ways. But before you got here, it was really no trust.
I agree with you.
And so that's why I made the opening comments I did.
Sure.
I want to be able to see a path for success for everybody. But I don't want to see the small things that are important. And to think we agreed to 90% of this, and there's a small portion that our membership just felt strong on. And we can't work through those things, but instead we're going to go back and do all it is. That's, you know, and I'm not saying neither side has to legally. So I'm not suggesting that. It just pushes us further back. We've been at this thing 3-4 years. It's going on 4 years.
Yep.
We done been to impasse twice on some issues.
I understand.
Some we win, some we lost.
That's how it goes, man.
Right, so we're here to, I'm gonna close out and just say we're here to do our best.
Let's do it. So I'll let y'all pick the 4 or 5 things y'all want to talk about. Let's go.
You wanna go over it?
Yeah, you can go over it.
So, this proposal, remember, it's coming from transit workers, so if we miss something, we left the clause in there that says we can add or delete or change or whatever, because, you know, we hope we didn't miss something, especially when we were trying to convey to you that you can see in the first and the second page, all the articles that the membership was good with, okay? They said, TA, we're good. If that had been just the contract alone, they would have ratified it. But then you see, and then if you go to the bottom of page 2, you'll see, we agree to your change to the June 2nd Human Resource Department Policies and Procedures Manual. And then of course you see the asterisk that says that we reject what you sent over on email on June 16th, because we think we can get to a better end result, not by adding what you just discussed with Curtis, with all the things that were changed in the proposal given to us by email. And then there's the articles. There are a couple articles. One article we're going to come right out and tell you, I think it's Article 30. We added it in there because Article 30 is time allowance. It's something you're already practicing. I think Mr. Kimbrough and Ms. Dampier, who's on the Microsoft Teams, would verify. You're already not giving 15 minutes for pre-trip, you're actually giving 20. And that's built into your existing schedules now, so that's more of a correction than it is a problem. It's just a correction to ensure that the final labor agreement will show 20 minutes for pre-trip rather than 15.
Which is better known as a practice.
It's a practice.
Agreed upon practice.
Correct. So, Article 7, union business. Our position there, Wes, is that we agree to the settlement that we came up with you all. The membership was very concerned over the fact that union officials can get off to conduct business when they pay for their lost wages. I mean, I'm just going to be straightforward. We've got a financial secretary treasurer here. She's got to be out once, sometimes twice a month to do her reports that she's required to do the bills, and often, you know, obviously we have other groups that we represent. We don't tend to go over to their locations on a regular basis. I think if you've been paying attention, you'll notice we don't do that. But we do have moments when there's maybe a discipline on an employee or arbitration or negotiations, and we do have to go to those locations. So there was a concern there. The third bullet in that union business, well, the second bullet would be pertaining to me. The third bullet, and again, this is not through a union lead pool, this is paid for by the local. All of the language that was agreed to, we would agree to. But in the third bullet, we do recognize that union business happens often at our location, and in some cases has to be where shop stewards get off to represent their coworkers or be in a grievance hearing. And if we utilize the union lead pool, we're going to be out of it pretty quickly. And then we think it's unfair that union officials would have to utilize their own personal leave to represent their coworkers. So we're trying to be reasonable here by saying 20 days for all union officials at ECAT to represent their coworkers at ECAT.
So that's 3 different union officials, 20 days a year?
So you have the treasurer,
Right.
who often gets called to training and also gets audited and things of that nature. And she often has to take off to go to deal with that. And they don't do it at night, they do it during the day. And then, so we're looking for 20 days where she can take off under the union paying her time to do those things throughout a year, okay? Excluding the union leave.
Paying out paid wages, is that what it is?
So the members, yeah, the
Not
members
wages, I mean dues.
pay the lost wages. So if she's taken off for 10 hours that day, it'd be without pay. And she would, trust me, she is getting hurt, and I'm getting hurt when we're off doing that, because we're not giving into our pension, correct? But she's made whole, so she gets her 40 hours in a week, because the members would cut a check, well, from the treasury, the members cut a check to pay her lost wages for the day, for her doing her job as her elected official position.
And those funds are derived by dues.
From dues, yes. Okay? And then the second bullet pertained to me, because I probably conduct the most union business of anyone, but, for the local union. And then the third bullet is for ECAT union officials only, and it pertaining to ECAT union contract. So that if they have to, be taken off because we've run out of the union leave pool, they can be, they could utilize this where the local could pay them, and they could go in and represent somebody potentially in a discipline hearing or investigation or a grief or a
Why would
grievance.
you use a union leave pool?
Why would we what?
Why would you not use a union leave pool?
No, we're saying the union, you know, I mean,
So we're talking about it once it's exhausted.
once it's,
And then we don't, as we talked to you before, we don't wanna have a duty of fair representation charge on us. So at least it would be, not the county doing anything, it would be strictly the union members, paying for these officers to do the job that they were elected to do. And the local union doesn't get into this duty of fair representation when somebody.
So I'm just asking a question, make sure I'm clear. So if we don't do this, then everybody would utilize a union leave pool, correct?
yeah, all the union officials in ECAT would have to utilize that union leave pool to conduct the business.
It's just not a lot of, what we presently agreed to is not a lot of time in the course of the year, that's all.
It would get exhausted pretty quickly. And then we would have to tell people they have to use their personal leave, which is pretty tough to swallow. And thank you for reminding me about the part of the duty of fair representation. We're concerned about that as well, because we have an obligation to represent them as dues paying members. So,
Okay.
bereavement. What we've done here is, I know that you have your position on bereavement, but, the members were very concerned about losing bereavement. What we did here is we eliminated previous proposals where it said extended family. We eliminated that and we put immediate family. So if you were to go back and look at previous proposals, you'd see right away we did quite a significant change to what our previous proposal was prior to us reaching the tentative agreement before the ratification. But the members were concerned about bereavement, not having the ability to have bereavement for immediate family. And you can see that, when we made it short and simple.
Okay.
Article 18, the annual leave vacation, this was probably this one is the one that the members were concerned about. And so, as you know, we have individuals that reached 4 weeks vacation after 12 years, 5 weeks after 20 years, and 6 weeks after 30 years. We're proposing that, I guess you could call it just grandfathering the existing employees in. And we're agreeing that anyone less than 4 weeks would be falling under the county policy from the HR manual of how they accrue leave, and future employees or new hires would fall under the county policy. But that kind of goes to what Curtis was talking about before, Wes, about the senior employees, how they feel about, they worked towards this for years to get to this point. Then on Article 19, the next page, unless you have questions on that.
Well, I'll make that back.
Okay. Holidays, we had a lot of stuff come at us on this one. Because it was noted on their behalf, it was noted they were losing their birthday under the existing contract. They were losing the floaters, that's 4 days right there. In their eyes, that's like a full week almost, depending on their shift, if they have a 10-hour shift. But with some idea of accepting that thought process, of shifting to that, how you guys run your system. The one thing they were concerned about is they discussed how many days some of them work on holidays, okay? because we do run service on particular holidays. We run it on Memorial Day, we run on July 4th, Labor Day, sometimes on Veterans Day, right? They're Blue Angels, you know, whatever. They run, and they want that guaranteed of time and a half to either volunteer to work that day for every hour they work, or if they're forced, because if they're forced to work that day, okay? And then of course holiday pay. So essentially that's double time and a half versus what you all pay, which is, I think it's double time, okay?
So this, at the normal TA, it says full-time employees who work on a holiday shall be paid at the overtime rate of pay for all hours worked in addition to holiday pay.
That's in the existing TA?
That's what we TA did.
Well,
That
I
was
have
in the
to-
proposal
Huh?
of 615.
okay. So we'll look back. I might, you know, I'm not sure if we messed up with
No, that's
the
fine. That's
proposal we showed them at the meeting.
I just want to make sure that I was
Because
understanding it
the
correctly.
one that we presented was double time. I mean,
Okay.
it was not double. If it is what it is, then we're good,
Okay.
okay? Article 24, the attendance. This one had a lot of attention by them as well. While grasping the need to get off of 10 occurrences, which is the existing system, the result of making it 6 occurrences was kind of a little bit overwhelming, or more importantly, the discipline they would have gotten. You know, right away, if you get 2 occurrences, that means you called in twice in a year. You suddenly are already into discipline mode, you're receiving a verbal warning, then you're getting a written warning, right? They pushed it out to 7 occurrences and adjusted what the discipline would be and what they thought was fair. We agree, Wes, this is something that I hope you understand, and I'm sure Mr. Kimbrough has talked to you about. The union is on board with fixing attendance as much as management is at ECAP. And we agree that the attendance policy has to be a little tougher, but we don't want it to be where it punishes a good employee who just has a bad year. And suddenly they're getting suspended for, you know, they had 1 bad year, they got 4 occurrences. Where, you know, other years they had 1 occurrence that year. But we understand the goal is to target those who have bad attendance, and we agree with that. Article 30, we talked about. Article 35, all we did here is knowing that you have a potential wage reopener, if we reached an agreement here in probably September, I don't know when you would propose a wage reopener. What we did though is we addressed what we think is one of the biggest concerns at ECAT right now, which is being able to hire people in. And so we changed some starting rates. But if you notice, for instance, we created that 1 progression and took away that 2-tier, but you notice the top rate at $20.64 is the existing rate of pay for top rate right now. And we did that, and of course we addressed a few other positions as well. We did think that you wanted to discuss at some point the idea of the difference between fueler and cleaner, but we haven't, you know, that has to be done through negotiations and then through PERC. But we also think those wages, you know, and customer service, those wages are significantly low, and to help you hire and retain people, we were trying to address those wages as well. Kind of like an Appendix E moment, like with the operational unit.
Okay.
Because we think that we need to get to a point where we have more of a staff at ECAT. A lot of people working a lot of overtime. We're putting a lot of stress on a lot of people, and
Have you analyzed what the cost of this proposed change is equate to?
you know, we know you got good, Kristen's got a good computer over there, she can punch the numbers. And
I'd say, you know, with any wage increase proposal should be a cost and also a way how you're gonna pay for it.
so, obviously, you can see the starting rate for a bus operator. And we thought it was equivalent to, for instance, a equipment operator classification. That's what the starting rate would be.
So let me jump into this. I hear you. From my limited knowledge, I would start off saying that the transit funding is separate from the general funding, even though I know the commissioners look at it as one.
Y'all get a lot of gas tax.
Right, so that's all I'm saying.
I want to make sure, I want to jump in on that because I'm actually one who has to see the funding. So you're correct, our transit funding, we do receive gas tax, but that's actually our local match in order for us to be able to pay for our actual grants. And currently, right now, there's already what our operating cost has been the actual 52.6% this year alone increase in our operating costs. And then like eventually, right, we got to get some capital things done. And that's one of those things where I can easily, I look at this and I'm all about everybody getting all the wages. I want everybody to get paid, all the money they want to get paid. But at some point, if we pay, we continue to increase our pay. And then when are we ever going to get the things that we need, like the buses and all those things like that? Like
I have to be honest with you, Cross, from my perspective. Capital is good, buses is good. They don't drive themselves.
Which is correct. So from my perspective in my world, you have to take care of the core employees. You don't have a transit system without bus operators that are one, have a quality of life. Yes, sir.
Two, a decent pay.
Yes, sir.
So I don't want to suggest that we're asking for more, because we're not, these wages ain't like astronomical type of wages. So I think that you have to find, I hear you in the budget process and your concerns, but I also will tell you that I know for a fact that a lot of your concerns are being dealt with at the federal level, and there's a lot more federal monies to tap into in order to help you without having the matches and things of that nature.
Right now.
And I would also even tell you that they're coming up as early as the 23 budget.
Which I'm aware of. And so I want to make sure that I get my point across because, again, I'm all for wages, and you're correct. You have to have human capital in order to be able to run a service. But also, you have to have bus operators, but a bus operator will not be able to have an actual service. They don't actually even have buses. So that's from my standpoint, when I come on board, one of the first things that I've heard from my standpoint is like all these things are broken, which means the capital things that are there, which are broken.
So here, I want to say this respectfully, but frank. Years of bad management can't be on the backs of workers.
So again,
And I think I heard you say that there's things that are needed to get to a certain point. We can't manage. Right? So
again, you're correct. So you're correct.
It's on the back
you're correct.
row.
And I want to be frank as possible. You're correct. You can't manage, but you know who can? And I want to be able to do my job.
Right, and I'm not suggesting you not, but what I'm saying to you is very clear. Mismanagement for all those years cannot be on the backs of workers.
Which is correct. So that's why I want to make it.
So
and I agree
I
with that.
don't want to argue because we're on the same page.
Yes, sir. Well,
I think where we're kind of right here is that the wages have to somewhat be part of the future.
Well, totally.
And so,
you're correct. So that's one thing I do. Like I can't say even with the top rate, I've already budgeted for 4% just in case, right? I always manage budget because I know I'm about everybody being paid for the job that they do. But I also, right? Again, I want everybody to be paid, but now I just don't want to be in a point where we're being mismanaged again because we have made all the adjustments to ensure that we've taken care of everybody, but we never took care of the system. Because in the past, that's my standpoint with it all. In the past, everyone was taken care of except the actual capital. Everybody else was taken care of, right? We had the parties, we had everything we had, but guess what? In the midst of all those things, the system wasn't being managed properly, and that's where we ended up where we are right now. And again, I want to just make sure it's clear that hey, I don't have a problem with anybody getting paid anything. Because I always make sure I budget for the people. But I don't wanna hear on the back end that, hey, we don't got this, we don't got that, we ain't do this, we ain't do that for all these years, and then now, hey, then that's still gonna be my fault. It's management fault. We don't have the buses we need.
I totally agree with you.
So I just want to add one thing, because Wes was saying, if you look at what we proposed here, and you ask, I just want you to know this, you can see existing employees like maintenance employees, technicians, and the existing bus operators at top rate, we're not asking for an increase on that. We figure that might be something that will be in a wage reel here in the future. But what we're talking about in this proposal is about retainment of being able to hire people and retain those that are in potential progression. That, you know, which we see, in our opinion, we see people leaving. Not just, yes, there's some from the top that are retiring and leaving, but we see existing employees that are hired in walking out the door as well. And we're concerned about that.
And I will say this, I think we're saying the same thing. What it looks like, from a manager's perspective, of course, budgeting means something. We're not taking away from that. But what we are seeing all over in transit is about being able to retain CDLs, holders, drivers. And it's no secret that the problem is getting them in and then trying to have some type of growth. They hose them. Our men and women at the top are important to us, don't get us wrong. There are our senior people who we have loyalty to, there's no doubt about that, right? But they're here because they love it. They love the job and they do a good job at it. That's the truth. But we don't have that pool that we had back in the 60s when it was the baby boomers that were coming out of the service and coming into transit and coming from, some of them were coming from college and, straight out of high school. We don't have that pool of CDL drivers and holders, so we're trying to take a stab at what we believe is a problem, but it's our future. We still would represent them, so we still have to look out for them.
Understand. Well, let us take what you gave us, and let's go sit in the room back there and digest a little bit. We're gonna talk about it a little bit. We'll come back in.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Just wanted to have Mike join us.
Yep, we saw him.
Hey, Mike, how are you, sir?
All right, we're back at it. Appreciate the time to call us. We did have some conversations and some looking at different things as far as some of the articles that you guys presented to us. And so we have, start with Article 19. Y'all agree with that one? That's what we TA'd?
Yes.
So 19 is not an issue.
Yes.
Okay. Start with Article 7. I can't agree to what's being proposed here. I think that's kind of drastic. In fact, I think, we're of the mindset of, maybe it's going backwards, I'm sure Kurt will tell me that, but I think I'm of the mindset of being like every other union that we have at 120 hours, union business. Article 17, bereavement. We're going to follow county policy, which we don't have we have a bereavement policy, but the policy is you can use your sick leave to attend whatever you need to attend. Article 18, annual leave and vacation. We proposing to follow county policy as far as how annual leave and sick leave are accrued. I believe we have that passed out.
And that's how it was drafted in our proposal from June.
Thank you.
Article 24, some changes there. in section 3 especially, I would say. Not so much counting occurrences, but I guess my problem with that is, well, I got 2 occurrences left, I can do this, or I got an occurrence fixing to roll off, so I got this one coming. I'm not really about that. So we're offering some changes there to kind of perform like the rest of the county performs. Disciplinary action, progressive disciplinary action, starting with a verbal warning, letter, or it could be a letter of counseling, and then a verbal warning, and then a written reprimand, termination, suspension and termination. I think in the county employee file, those infractions, no matter what they may be, whether it be attendance related or performance related or whatever it may be, stays in the file for 2 years. At the end of those 2 years, they roll out. So we're, Article 24, we're proposing to follow county policy basically. Article 30, we didn't really speak to that, unless Rod wants to speak to it.
That's something that's already a practice that we already currently do, that's put in the schedule, so that's fine.
And Article 35, I'll be honest with you, we really didn't have time to go through it. So we spent a lot of time on these other two or 3 articles. That's kind of where we're at.
So just let me recap to make sure I understand.
Okay.
24 is strictly with county policy
Correct.
for all employees.
Correct.
Annual leave is for all employees as well.
Correct.
It's my understanding that we can TA 30 because it's already in practice. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you for that. Wages, you didn't get into, you did not spend any time on it. And Article 7 is basically you want to stay where your position has been, the 120 for.
Correct. Yep.
Just want to make sure we understand.
Sure, absolutely.
So if y'all will give us time to take a brief caucus, we'll talk.
Okay.
Thank
Sure.
you.
There you go.
We asked you to come back because we were needing some clarity on a few items. On the attendance one, our concern is, or we want to know what any absence without authorized means, because you took out the whole section of time occurrences. We'd like to keep our position is we'd like to keep the TA that we have, which incorporates all of it. But if it's gonna be altered and we're gonna consider it, what is your position on any absence without authorized leave? Will be without pay. What does that mean without time occurrences?
Well, if you're absent, you don't have permission to be absent. If you request to be off, you're just absent without authorization, you should not get paid that day. If you have 3 of those, 3 no call, no shows, you're up for termination.
No call, no show, but suppose I call and say, hey, look.
You call and say, hey, or if you call in and say, hey, I need to be off today, Supervisor goes, no, you can't be off today, I need you. Then you don't show. Well, that's probably gonna be some sort of disciplinary action.
Right, but it's not a no call, no show.
That's not a no call, no show.
Right.
And disciplinary action could be a letter of counseling.
Right.
Could be a verbal warning, could be a written reprimand. Depends on how many times this has happened.
Right, so that's why we were that's what helped us with the time occurrences in there before, saying at least we know what it would be, right? Your thoughts on why you want it out?
Mainly to line up with county policy and procedure. It's just how we do throughout the whole county. Every department does it the same. It's been pretty easy to follow for the employee and the supervisor. I did have one guy tell me that nobody ever met with him, told him he had to be on time, which I thought was ridiculous. But, you know, just, and I always saw about the road department because there's some years. And I get it, you have good employees are gonna have issues from time to time. They're gonna be tired, kid's gonna be sick, something's gonna happen.
But it's called life.
Yeah, that's just
Yeah.
life, that's just how it is. And in my experience, I've had employees that if they only work 4 days a week, they can't make 2 of those. For whatever reason.
That's a different story.
And, or they're gonna be late. I have one guy, he'll be late 7 to 8 minutes every day. There's no excuse for that. And I'm not gonna let you do it. So we're gonna start, we'll start with a letter of counseling, we'll start with a verbal warning, and we'll progress up until we progress you out of the organization, if that's what you choose to do. But, when I talk to these folks, I'm like, dude, it's 7, 8 minutes. You can't make the house 10 minutes early. So, I mean, we have to be able to address those things. And we've not had, I personally have not had a problem, or as my manager supervisor is working with this type of system, like county policy dictates, and the employees haven't had a problem with it. The ones that have a problem with it is the ones who don't like to come to work, or who like to be habitually late. Those are the ones who have a problem. Everybody else doesn't have a problem.
So I have a question on this, so I just wanna make sure I understand. So employee A has sick time on the books, and they call in and say, call into supervision and say, I'm sick today, I can't be there.
Okay.
Employee B does the exact same thing, they don't have anything on they don't have any sick time or anything. What, it's determined by management to say to employee A, no, we need you on the bus, you gotta come to work, versus
Call in
employee
sick.
B.
Calling in
employee-
sick is a different thing.
Okay, well, this is what I wanna hear.
Calling in sick is a different thing. If you call in sick, you got your sick leave, hey, I'm sick, can't come in today. Nobody's gonna say anything about that.
Okay, okay.
But now you're calling sick and you don't have any leave, you may still be out sick, but you may get a letter of counseling when you get back for not having any leave.
Yeah, I got that, I understand, okay. Does that help us for this one?
And I will say this, if you're gonna be the habitual person that's sick 2 days a week, at some point in time, I'm gonna require you, when you do that, to go get your doctor's stuff.
Yeah, I saw the part about trends.
Yeah, we understood that part.
Yeah, I think we got that.
I think we're on the same page with you. We
Yeah.
clearly said that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this leave without pay? If that's different than this?
Yeah, we have a whole section designated with leave without pay, there's medical compulsory leave, there's a whole different section within the HR policies and procedures for that.
Thank you.
So I call out and say I can't be there, I'm not feeling well today, I have sick leave on the books. There won't be denial saying it's unauthorized. You are unauthorized to call out.
As long as it's within your scope, I think it's 30 minutes before your shift,
Right.
then that's an excused absence, that's
Okay.
not an excused absence.
Y'all already gave us that policy.
Yeah, I think so.
I know I seen it, so.
Okay.
Jumping over to the annual leave part, which is probably the hardest one for us. Mike, really want to clarify.
Well, can we put a little note, because we did a little bit more like in-depth research. Kimberly, you want to share that information that you found?
So, just looking at it, so employees, just looking at the current collective bargaining agreement. Current collective bargaining agreement, employees with 1, 2, it's a lot of employees that actually gain, they currently gain by being a part of by being a part of this. So beginning dates, that we use the county policy, if your beginning date to your 5th year, you actually gain, right? So employees with 1 year to 2 years, they gain. And beginning the 6th year through the end of the 10th year, right? So employees with 6 years or more, they gain. the employees beginning on the 11th year to the 15th year. So that's the time where employees, they lose 2 days, so they lose about 16 hours.
Right.
And employees will begin in the 16th year through the end of the 20th year. Those employees, they actually gain. The employees that actually lose are employees beginning with the 21st year through the 25th year. They actually lose 1 week. So if you got 21 to 25 years, you actually lose 1 week. But employees with 26 years or more are the ones that actually lose 2 weeks. So just and I did the numbers right now. So we have about 35 employees that, 37 employees that actually gain. And I'm just using bus operators, but on the maintenance side, it's still more that actually gain. And then we have about 5 employees that lose 8, but then we have another 10 that still, so it's almost like a lot of people gain and we have some that lose. And so I just wanted to make sure that's clarified, like a lot of people will gain while some will lose. But,
And we appreciate it, but that's exactly why our members have problems. We were clear with you guys and up front that the 2-week people are the people who have been here the longest. I work all these years and I gotta, you taking something? Wait, you're not taking a day here or something. 2 weeks is a lot of time. So, I hope that y'all can understand why the members didn't vote it up. It's the senior folks that are here that are feeling the way they feel. Not beating it up, not reiterating. I appreciate the homework that you guys did. But this is the sticking point for us that, where we can find compromise in a lot of things. It's very hard telling folks to compromise their 2 weeks when they're, look, I'm being nice. They ain't said nice things to us.
I understand. Maybe I misunderstood, but I thought in the one that we TA'd, I thought we had made some allowance for some of the more senior employees.
And I
We
don't
had like a 3-year window, if I remember right.
A lot of them are in their 50s, and they're still got like 8 to 10 years before they look at retiring.
Yeah,
And that was some of the message that we got.
I got you.
It's hard for them to swallow. And those numbers that you gave, Mr. Kimbrough, I had done the same math, and they were like, we're taking care of the people who just walked in the door, but what about us? We've been committed our career to here. And they were pretty direct about that, they were saying. We're benefiting someone who's got just 5 years of service or 4 years of service, but somebody's given 26 years, 25 years, 27 years. We're telling them they gotta lose, and then obviously those that have over 30 plus are losing, which is a small group there.
Sure.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so our biggest heartburn is in attendance. And I think Mike started out the conversation today. We're kind of on the same page. The language is about tweaking it here so both sides can agree. But this is the hardest part for us. Out of everything we presented to you today, this is our #1 issue. The wages, surprisingly, wasn't our #1 issue because you helped us through that.
Mm-hmm.
So we just want to send the right message. We will counter and try to get some movement.
Okay.
This is our one that you can look for us to counter.
Absolutely. I got you.
So we appreciate you answering our questions. We want to try to get a few more minutes and then try to call you back in before we leave. The union leave? We can, but I think we kind of know what they want.
Yeah, I think so, but the union leave question that I have is, it's 120 hours, period, correct? For union leave pool.
Correct.
What about representation without being through the union leave pool, meaning,
What you propose?
well,
Or something similar?
something similar, or, but let me go a different direction. 120 hours is 12 days, okay?
And that's.
I can tell you the union activity communications with management on the property is sometimes more than the 120 hours as far as having to work things out. Often, it's more than that. So, I think that burdens our relationship. I was just talking to you today. How are we ever gonna be able to do orientations, let alone, you know,
I would say this, Mike, every union has 120 hours. Most of them don't even touch them. Then I'm just being, that's truth, that's the truth. Most of them don't even touch it.
So, Wes, I gotta say, cause some of them don't touch it, we have to live by what they do.
Well, I'm just saying that there, you know, it's kind of difficult. And we did get some in the end, but it's difficult for me to say, you know, there's fire over here. It's a pretty active union, active members, large membership, they're doing a lot of good things. And they seem to do well with unemployment. IASF, paramedics, EMTs, they're pretty active with a large membership.
They have zero.
They have zero. They have zero. PBA, same. So, from my perspective, when I look at all these other unions who have active membership,
So let's,
Strong
police,
membership.
police and fire are not actually unions, they're associations.
well,
firefighters.
we negotiate with them on the
No, I understand, but I'm just clarifying that.
yeah, that's fine.
You know,
So,
there
so
is
it's a little difficult, you know, to
I
look
think they
at
have full-time officers.
and say that, you know, how come these others, this is plain sufficient, but this one is not?
You heard what Mike said, Russ?
I didn't hear what he said.
He said that they have full-time officers.
PBA does.
I don't know.
They have full-time what, offices?
Officers, so in other words, the president is full-time, he doesn't actually work. He works for the union full-time.
Who is that?
Talking about Alan Miller.
Alan Miller's not the union president.
I don't know, I just said what
I
Mike
think
said.
the
I don't,
president
so,
actually works at the sheriff's
The president
office.
actually
Oh,
works
they
at
are.
the sheriff's office full-time.
But, I mean, that's an organization.
It's also the relationship,
As a-
see, I'm trying to be careful what I say here, because it's also the relationship, you mentioned the firefighters, right? The relationship they have within that organization. And, so I don't know what their day-to-day process is, how, but,
I don't really either. I mean,
so,
I don't know how they do their union business. I really don't. All I know is that they don't touch the
I can't, I know how ours work. If we have a grievance, if we have a discipline, no, everyone usually gets pulled off the bus. I don't charge union leave. I usually, so if there's a grievance, whether it's a steward, like if it's Miss Elaine, if it's Miss Wanda, if it's Miss Varnell, if it's Miss Brooks, if it's Mr. Starworth, if it's you, Mr. Larry, I've never charged union leave to be able to take care of those businesses. Even when we had our meeting, like I always say, hey, pull them off of the bus, right? No one's charging. Hey, make sure they paid their time. I ain't never, so when I hear relationship, like that's almost as if like we don't have like a.
I didn't say that.
Well, no, I know, but I just want
I
to make sure,
didn't
like,
say
I think that we have a relationship where if there's union business that need to be conducted, if you say you need to speak with me, it's never been a time. I know you all say that, you know, Mr. Kimbrough isn't sitting in the seat. I mean, I know that anytime that there need to be a discussion, I've never said, well, Ms. Larry, in order to talk to me, you gotta use union leave. I've never said that, or if we got something we gotta discuss, whether it takes us 1 hour, 2 hours, you gotta talk to Ms. Don Pierre, I always say, hey, get Mr. Larry off of the bus and you and him sit down and y'all discuss it. Get Miss Elaine, I told Ms. Don Pierre when we working with the shoes up, and I've never made anyone use union leave to be able to do that ever. Alright, so I guess union leave, I guess that's simply just the days when you're not there conducting outside union business. I guess, I don't know, but like if there's anything dealing with our employees there, like I'll never be like, nah, you ain't on union time, or we gotta conduct it when you get off work. I've never done that. And I would hope that none of the managers or supervisors are doing that either, like saying, or forcing anyone to stay at work to conduct like that type of business with our employees. So, I don't know.
It's good to hear. It's refreshing. It's a different relationship.
Yeah, it's different. It was the previous.
I'm glad, yeah. So, okay, so that's good to know. I would only ask Wes is, and I guess you've told me your position on it, but once again, there's an obligation outside of the county, ECAT, at some point in time. This only suggests only ECAT or the county. Let me just say the county, because ECAT is the county. It's the same. You know, and we're not asking you to pay for it. That's the problem that we have. At some point in time, we just have to do business. And it is that, it's business. It's not running off and just trying to get time off. You know, we just wrapped up a contract with
Panama City
Panama City Transit, right?
2 days.
But it was business, right? It wasn't play. It was actually longer days than we normally do. So we're not looking for the gusto. We're not looking for what happened in the past. Let me just be honest. What we are asking for is the business needs at a reasonable, something that's reasonable.
I understand.
So, we can get past, especially with the relationship has changed, we can get past the ECAT part. The part that we can't get past is not having any type of leave to go handle the other business. And I know you cited it, and stuff like that.
You can cut some of that. By
This local is and had the right to, and it's been around for years. It's nothing new.
Sure.
They used to have school buses as well. You know, they don't have that problem.
Right.
So we'll send some back over, but we just want to be upfront about everything
I
as
appreciate
we
that.
always have. And,
Appreciate it.
we don't think we're far off. We just
So you could eliminate some of that by taking the paratransit and bringing it back under the ECAT. That would be helpful, the ADA part of it.
Let's just handle ECAT.
yeah. I don't know where that come from. How they do it? Let me jump in.
and that comes from the workers at ITL. They would love to be under.
Yeah. But Mike, jumping in there. You got reckless.
Well, I'm just saying, man. Those folks get.
I need to know what you're gonna
We
say.
met with Harold today.
Elaine, I know I'm in charge of Mike. God. So please just give us a few minutes.
Sure.
We just want 10 minutes or so. We do want to close out with giving something back to
Okay.
you before we leave. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
We'll be back down here.
Alright.
Alright, you're on.
Okay, I'm just diving in.
Sure.
With respect to the annual leave, it's our major issue. I'm gonna give it verbally.
Okay.
We would like the people with 20+ years to be grandfathered in for the 21 year through 25 years with 5 weeks, and the 26 to keep their 6 weeks.
Existing system.
So they don't lose anything. We're not trying to take away. Everybody else with 20 and below would fall into the county's makeup where they fall in over time.
Okay.
It's 10 employees.
So, I mean, come on, let me finish. And then, if we can agree to that, we don't have a problem with agreeing to the bereavement policy. So we see those as going together. We don't have a problem with the attendance, the way it is written up. We appreciate you clarifying our questions. The union business, of course, we will have to come back and give you a written counter on.
Sure.
We don't have enough time today. We already agreed on the holidays, and we already agreed on the Article 30, so that would only leave, if we can have some agreement on what I just talked to you about, that would leave the brief tables and the union building open in a sense.
Okay.
So that's our counter. We believe that that's a good compromise for both sides.
All right.
We appreciate your time today.
Yeah, we appreciate it too. Good afternoon. All right,
You still got a lot of proposals on your side.
we'll see.
And it's, what, Thursday we meet back? Thursday?
Not next Thursday, but I won't be here.
No, I thought it was
I
this
don't think we
Thursday.
have a session scheduled.
Wait, is it this Thursday? We don't have another one scheduled?
Not that I'm aware of, I might be wrong.
That's ECCT.
Okay, well then can we just look forward to
Sure.
scheduling sometime this week?
Absolutely.
Scheduling in our next one so we can keep the momentum rolling. That's our ask and we appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Kimbrough, thank you for the